Yo, what's going on, boys? It is day number 27 of reading through the book of Acts. We are just one day away from finishing this series. So just kudos to everyone who has been supporting me and has been just providing me with feedback and just overall just good words of motivation just from many people. So thank you. But for today, we're going to be pretty much finishing up Paul's journey to Rome. Chapter 28 is going to cover exactly his time in Rome. And chapter 27 really covers the journey to Rome mainly. So from yesterday, let me flip back my page here. We were talking about Paul speaking before King Agrippa. So now we have gotten to the point where Paul has finished speaking with Agrippa, and he has been he's being sent to Rome. So he's going about traveling through these cities, just all over the place, and eventually getting on a ship that is going to sail over to Italy. And while they're on the ship, they the seas had become very dangerous. It was very just kind of hard, and it was just very not well planned out. And so Paul speaks a message to the people of the ship, and really the centurions, by saying, "Men," and this is verse 10, by the way. He says, "Men, I can see that our voyage is going to be disastrous and bring great loss to ship and cargo, and to our own lives." And that's my dog eating, by the way, if y'all are wondering. But what he's saying here is he's kind of making a prediction from what we learn later on. He tells how he heard this message from God. But he's like, look, if we continue on this voyage, we are not going to be successful. We are not going to get to Rome. We're not going to get there. It's going to end up a disaster, not only for just the items aboard the ship, but for us as well. He's like, so we need to change course. We need to change where we're going, because if we don't change, it's not going to end up very well. And the centurion responds back, and he's just like, "No, dude, we're fine." He doesn't take Paul's advice, and so they continue on this path. And so for the second part of this chapter, it talks about the storm. Now, there's a couple of different details that are mentioned about this storm, but I'm only going to cover two of them that I really felt stood out to me, and that was verses 15 and 18. So with verse 15, it says, the ship was caught up by the storm and could not head into the wind. So we gave way to the wind. We gave way to it and were just driven along. So the centurions didn't listen to Paul, so now they continue on this path. Now they have been caught in the storm, and now they are stuck. They cannot escape because they are caught in by this storm. The ship cannot escape. They were not taking advice. Now they just have to go with wherever the storm is going to take them. And then the second verse that I highlighted that I felt was really important was verse 18. It says, "We took such a violent battering from the storm, the next day we began to throw the cargo overboard." So the people are like, look, maybe if we just get rid of some stuff, maybe it'll be okay. Maybe if we just get rid of the important things, get rid of the food, and it's like, maybe that'll go away. But eventually, that didn't work. So it's been, a long time, and I believe it was about 2 weeks that this went on. And so finally, Paul makes another message to the people, kind of explaining why they should listen to his advice, and why he was given that message for a specific reason. And this is going to be verses 21. This is a little bit after the start of 21, verse 21 through 26. It says, "Men, you should have taken my advice not to sail from Crete. Then you would have spared yourselves this damage and loss. But now I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost, but only the ship will be destroyed. Last night an angel of the Lord, to whom I belong and whom I serve, stood beside me and said, 'Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand trial before Caesar, and God has graciously given you the lives of all who sail with you. So keep your courage, men, for I have your faith in the God that will happen just as he told me. Nevertheless, we must aground on some island. So he's like, look, this wouldn't have happened, if you wouldn't have taken my advice. But he doesn't necessarily criticize them, saying that they're terrible people. He's like, look, you guys didn't take my advice. Now, like, I want you to stay courageous. You were very anxious in the storm, and you were hopeful that the storm would pass. It's like, don't lose that courage. Don't lose that feeling of courage. Keep it up. Because if we keep up this feeling of courage, it'll allow us to bounce back and allow us to spare our lives and what we have with us. And he says that, these people that are on the ship with him, they're going to be the witnesses that are going to be with Paul when he stands before Caesar, saying that these are the people that are going to be supporting him. They're going to be the people who are just standing on his side, just, being like, look, this man is who he says he is. He's not just making stuff up or just saying things out of nowhere. Like, this guy's legit. Like, he means well. And so that's kind of what he goes over there. And so for the last part of chapter 27, we're going to talk about the shipwreck. Now, I only highlighted one little area of this portion just because there's a lot that kind of goes over about what happens, about, how they're approaching land, they're checking the depth of the water, and eventually when they approach the land. And so I highlighted verses 34 through 36. It says, now I urge you to take some food. You need it to survive. Not one of you will lose a single hair from his head. After he said this, he took some bread and gave thanks to God in front of them all. Then he broke it and began to eat. They were all encouraged and ate some for themselves. Now, you might be wondering, how does that relate to a shipwreck? Like you just didn't mention anything about shipwreck. Well, this whole time, while these people are being so cautious about their every move on this ship, they are not benefiting from the essential needs. And in this case, food. They're not eating. So they're starving themselves because they're so worried about approaching this land. So Paul's like, look, still eat, still do your daily activities, but do it with caution. Do it with a lot more, response and a lot more awareness. If you can do that, you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about running to these ground bars or, running about just going into any sort of issue with the ship. And so eventually, later on, they do eventually reach land. The ship crashes on the little sandbar, and instead of the soldiers being afraid that the prisoners are going to be released, that they're going to jump off the ship and swim and be escaped, they're like, look, anybody that can swim, go on to land. While we try to salvage what we have on the ship and bring it to land. Bring these makeshift boats and just kind of put together what we can to bring to land, because obviously the ship, it's short. There's nothing we can do with it. And so that just kind of, I felt like this chapter was a little bit more just kind of confusing to me, just because, for me, I just am so, trying to wrap my head around, what is going on here with, the storm and the shipwreck. And it's just kind of, playing a lot of different, scenes in my head of, them going through this vicious storm and, the shipwreck, and them, getting out of the shipwreck and them being on this island to go and try and get to Rome. But I think if I had to make an overall kind of lesson of this story is, never underestimate God's, word. And, I know that goes for a lot more than just things like this. It goes for like everything. But never underestimate God. Never underestimate God's plans, because even if his plans include some sort of things that you don't like, or some things that you feel are a challenge, sometimes those things are meant to happen for a reason. They're meant to build you up. They're meant to test what you have to test, what you've learned, to see if what you've really read and what you really have talked about is an actual thing. I know for me, reading the word and, going out and speaking the word are two different things. You would think they're the same thing, but they're not. You can read the word a lot easier than you can go out and share the word. Sharing the word is a lot harder because, in today's day and age, it's kind of hard to know whether someone, wants to, be able to talk with you, or they're just doing it for attention. So I think overall, if we can just kind of understand that, there's a lot more to life than just reading. Oh, excuse me. There's a lot more to life than just going about, what you think is right. There's a lot more to that. Again, God's will is right. Your will is not. As much as you may think you're doing the right thing sometimes, you don't know. So all you can really do is hope and pray and ask God for assistance. Again, God doesn't respond immediately. God responds in a timely manner. God's plan is not aligned with what our plans are. God's plans are unique, they're adequate, and they apply to our lives when the time matters right. God's plans always work. It says when the time is right. I think it's Isaiah 22. Some chapter in Isaiah. When the time is right, I will make it happen. I, the Lord, will make it happen. But that's all I have for chapter 27. I hope you guys have been enjoying this series over the past month through February. I'm trying to still decide what I want to do for the month of March. But I hope you guys have had a great week. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And I hope you guys stay safe. See you soon. Peace out, boys.